Alright, I'm not even going to do the mic check. I am going to just go straight into it because, the struggle was real trying to get this podcast done. Alright, so ironically enough, I was focused on the glitches from the last time, and it's called optical illusions, and that's, to me, very funny. However, I wanted to continue to listen to it, and I listened to my first podcast over and over and over, and I kept hearing traumatized. So that's going to be the theme of this one. Hey, North Carolina. Traumatized. My Sandwich Gap people. Anybody, really. Okay? Because the trauma and the struggle is real about all of these things. So, trauma. Trauma is, for me, I cannot speak for anyone else, but this is what was traumatizing for me. Trauma is looking at the news before I ever even, excuse me. And see, that's why my voice is so shaky, because there's just too much. It's traumatizing. So, all the things that I've seen on the news, I happen to be very, very dead set on recording something tonight. And it has taken forever for me to get to this point for various reasons, of which I will not go into any details. However, when I went to, I saw the local news, and trauma to me looks like a candidate on the news that is boasting about what he wants to do or how he's done it, and one of the candidates that is running is for governor, and that is the one that I just so happened to see tonight. And I was just thinking about how are you gonna say I'm gonna sue someone because I've got a hotshot lawyer but not deny the claims? Yeah, well, either way, that same candidate is the one that I have heard very, very much degrade women by saying they should have closed their skirts. And I cannot even, nope, can't talk about that yet. However, that's not even the only one. You've got an attorney general. Okay, so need I go on? And a VP. All of the party, it seems that perhaps they want to take over the state of North Carolina. Just it seems. And this is too great of a state for that to happen. It seems like if that trickle-down thing works, it's going to be bad. Not just for women, but I cannot help notice that there's a common theme in some of the candidates, broad spectrum, who think that us women, and really think about this, Sandwich Gap, us women don't have the right to stand up for ourselves. We really don't. That's what they think, because they really want to take over this state. And think about what that means for your daughters. For your daughters. Think about what that means. Think about what it means when they degrade women like that. Publicly, nationally. And that's not even, they're called triggers now for a reason. Trauma responses, everything. Yep, that's that bridge the gap. Yes, our younger generation, hallelujah, have come up with, people along the way behind the scenes have termed and coined phrases such as gaslighting, and, love bombing, and just anything that you can think of. Remember that? But really, it was already there. I mean, remember All About Eve? I think I've never seen the movie, but isn't that the one? I think that's the one where it introduces gaslighting and love bombing and everything. I digress. Again, I do that. Trauma is looking at live rallies and seeing pastors pray over certain things and introduce certain candidates and then have them say pretty much, I endorse them and everything. Optical illusion, again, pay attention to that. Have them endorse these candidates and then hear one, could be a national one, could be all of them, or not all of them, but could be several, say in a big old state that, I'm sorry, drugs were not an issue before the borders opened. They weren't. People were not overdosing prior to that. Fentanyl was not a thing before the border crisis. And furthermore, drug dealers should all have the death penalty. Now think about what that really means, Sandwich Gap. Think about that. Because if we're going to be honest and not pretend that we did not have or make mistakes along the way when we were our children's age and everything, think about the fact, I'm not saying we collectively, I'm not saying I did or anybody in particular did, I'm just saying think what that means. That means that if you just take yourself back for a second and remember what it's like to be young and in college or just in high school or wherever you were living and see these great, wonderful people that made mistakes. Think about made mistakes or bad decision making, or just bad choices. They just lost their way or did whatever. You know, any it can happen to anyone as soon as the devil gets you. I mean, it just can, no matter what you believe. So think about all those times that you witnessed as a teenager, one of your friends of friends of friends in anywhere that may or may not have either distributed them, found them, knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and then think if those people, not only, of course, it matters that people overdose, of course, so don't get it twisted, but think about what if those people that were making the mistake or the poor choice of just a poor judgment decision, what if they were sentenced to death because someone else made a poor decision in that weak moment to try a drug and they didn't know how it was going to affect them, but yet now they're both dead? And they could have been, and now think about this now. These people that you may or may not have seen along the way, now think about where you are now, my sandwich generation, okay? 20 plus years later, you probably know some of those people that turned out to be wonderful human beings, and we're always wonderful human beings, but turned out to do something really meaningful with their life. What if they didn't have an opportunity because somebody went on national television and actually made the statement, I saw it, it was live, bring back the death penalty for drug dealers. Yeah, so anyway, either way, that's traumatizing. As a 42-year-old female, that is traumatizing to watch, because when I think about people that I knew in teenage years and think about what they've done with their lives and how many things would be different, how many kids would not exist, how many, just so many things. Just think about it like that. Just you know, because that is sad. It's sad. So keep that in mind. And trauma also manifests itself in those triggers and everything when you think about the woman or the man who didn't have a say in whatever happened and what decision you made at the time. And either way, it doesn't matter because the choice is just completely off the table. There is no shame in admitting that you did something that maybe at times you regret, but there's no shame in saying, I terminated a pregnancy because I wasn't ready, and no one gets to judge me for that except God. Nobody else. Therefore, and that's only one example. So, I mean, whether or not you made the decision or your significant other helped you make the decision or was against the decision or you got judged for it and people talked or did whatever, no one would have the choice. It doesn't matter. No one would have the choice at this point. And what if even a miscarriage happened before you could have the abortion? There's so all the health related risks. Trauma is having to see your child suffer for not being able to either talk about it or make an informed decision or feel all alone or have a health crisis or go down a bad road afterwards because they just don't know how to cope. That's trauma. That is something that takes a while to come back from. There are other traumas that happen that I'm speaking on what I know, okay? And I do also know that there are people walking around, not the wolves, the sheep, walking around, hello, Mr. wannabe VP, just saying on national TV, hey, love you, Oh, okay, so now you know where I stand on that, but as if you didn't already, there are people walking around judging people for the sins that they've committed that no one knows about. But God knows. God knows. Somebody knows. Whatever religion that I'm not here to push an agenda about believing. You believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just saying, you're not the judge of other people. Live and let live. And the fact that some of these candidates, they want to take away any of the power, any of the control. And speaking of diehard Miami Dolphins fan, Tyreek Hill, the other day, oh, I love me some Tyreek Hill. For so many reasons, because first of all, he's articulate and was very, very upfront about the injustice that happened to him and actually said, I know I could have done. I was so impressed with his interview and everything, which I wasn't surprised, but impressed that he was like, oh yeah, no, I know I could have done different things. However, still it doesn't make it right, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do this and be an example. I applaud you, Tyreek Hill, and also Colin Kaepernick. Still support that, because it wasn't about what y'all tried to say. It was about y'all, meaning certain whoever y'all are. You'll know if you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. However, again, I digress. Tyreek Hill, he said when they were talking about how maybe he was up for renewing contract or leaving or whatever, and he was really taken aback and everything, because I really truly believe that he loves Miami. And speaking of, again, Florida, North Carolina, hurricane victims, everything. Still praying. But he said, my parents taught me to control the controllables. I loved that. The shortened version of a serenity prayer. Control the controllables. Because it tracks. It makes sense. So just remember that. Control the controllables. That is, thank you, Tyreek Hill. Because if you can control it, then control it. If you can't, then that's in God's hands, or whatever religion you believe in. However, if you can't control it, then it's not up to you. But there are things that we can control. There are things that we can control in this state. North Carolina, do you really want to be a red state? Really? Really? You want to be a red state? If you do, okay. All right. And I know there's so much more to talk about. And the trauma of and trauma is also watching the discussions about how misled information is about who did what to help hurricane victims, and also why this, that, or the other happened with economics. And hello, Dr. Fauci, but whatever. Okay. Trauma is all of it. It is all traumatizing to look at. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss that. Trauma is watching them try to spin it to where, okay, all right, so hey, Walls, good old boy that loves the farmers and everything. I'm with the small town. You will make an excellent VP. I believe that it's awesome that you can bring the whole small town perspective and remind people that are not used to it that, oh hey, I care. I've proven it my whole life. I've proven it that I care about these things. You were talking about, this was my point, the trauma about, because I digress a lot, but trauma is watching the shootings and everything and talk about how, we can't take away this, that, and the other and everything. But what you said, Mr. hopefully VP Walls, was, hey, I am all for protecting and keep the Second Amendment right. It's not that, but there is that middle ground, and there is. And to that point, there's so much I could say about Madam. By the way, I cannot stand that most people do not say Madam Vice President. Madam Vice President. That is an honor. Think what you want. Think what you want. I mean, because to hear him say it, just worst VP of all time. Whatever your views are, okay, those are your views. Address the first female Vice President of the United States as Madam Vice President. All due respect. You earned that, Madam Vice President. And I really, really believe that you will earn this if it is control the controllables. Again, thank you, Tyreek Hill, for that one. If it's of that nature, if people actually do that, because with you and Walls, the blend, it's almost like people keep talking about there's no real democracy. It's ironic that some would say that you two would be the ones to ruin it when you literally are the epitome of democracy, bringing everything together. Everything. Your views, his views, everything, and blending this country again. And I am not scared to say that. All out there, it's just, I'm looking forward to one day saying, Madam President. Side note, Shonda Rhimes, you are one of my favorites. Dear Harpo, thanks, by the way. Shonda Rhimes, you know what you do. But yes, I look forward to calling Madam Vice President Harris. I look forward to calling you Madam President one day. Again, trauma. All the trauma. People are missing the point. Some. I'm not sure that all of them are. I cannot speak for anyone except for me. I just know what I see because I've taken the time to pay attention, because I have the gift of time right now to pay attention to all of it. It is just, and that's not even just entertainment, everything. And y'all, just please, just listen. What does your gut tell you about what kind of world you want your children to live in? Because this is not a jab at our elders or our parents or our parents' parents. This is not that. I mean for this to be something bright and inspirational. I don't mean to sit on high horse and preach. When I'm passionate about something, there's just so much to talk about because there's so much to see and say. Thank you, Dave Matthews, so much. I do that. Music, it's a thing. But there's so much going on overseas, in the nation, in the state, in our homes, in our family lives, in the weather. And there is so much to pay attention to that it can be lost in the shuffle. But please do not let your gut not control those controllables. Because you know that you do not want, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I'm just hoping at least over half of this state. That way it's a blue one, because it needs to be a blue state. It does. It really does. I swing it this way. I'm hoping that there are at least enough of y'all out there that understand this assignment. I'm praying for it, actually, because I don't think you're going to like what happens after. I know that I'm not going to if the nation turns this red way. But again, with that trickle down. So it starts with the small stuff. And I hope that everyone registered, and I hope and pray that you will still stick with me for another, I don't know, maybe 7 days, whatever. Yep, 7 days. And just bear with me. I might never collect my thoughts in a fluid way, but it's just how I talk. But it will all make sense in the long run why I'm doing this. It really will. I really believe not only in a woman's right to choose, because it's her body, nobody else's. I also really believe in protecting the freedoms that dictators want to take away. I really believe that it all starts at the bottom. Make sure you're paying attention to everyone that you're voting for in this state, please. In every state, if this passes through any other state, I know that trauma comes in the form of PTSD. I know that trauma can make someone's life just derail for a long time. I know that trauma can get you to do things that you know better than to do. I know that trauma can have a lasting effect until you get to where you're supposed to be, as long as you keep pushing through. I just want our children to have the same luxury as I have had by being able to push through all the trauma and get to a point where I can accept everything and speak out on behalf of our younger generation with no disrespect to my family or my friends or anyone that has opposing views or just my parents. It's not about that. I'm not here to judge. I am not here to judge. Speaking of judges, you might want to check out Supreme Court ones. Again, that's just a side note. This is how it happens. Just please don't vote early. And I am really grateful to anyone who actually just followed that and listened to it and understood. Because if you can pick up what I'm putting down, that is really impressive. I say that because I'm all over the place all the time. To anyone that listened and could follow along, I applaud you. I was all over the place. Thank you for listening. Just vote. Don't mail in early ballots. If you're not sure, don't do it, please. I'm very, very much wishing everyone a wonderful weekend. And those of us, or those of y'all who did not, and it was due to a traumatic event or just any everyday, ordinary thing, and especially everything that's going on in the world and in my states that I mentioned before. Don't forget, we can donate warm clothes and everything, just any kind of help, because if you don't have money to donate, I understand that. I totally understand that. But if you have an extra shirt or more than 5 pairs of socks or more than a day's week worth of clothes, then you've got something to donate or help with. If you've got several blankets and pillows on your bed, you've got something to give away, because our state is in trouble, and I don't like it when it's exploited. I don't like it when it's exploited, especially when I see the Georgia residents from home suffering the way that they were. Hey, Mayor, what'd you think of that one? Anyway, I don't like the fake visits to a place coming from a small town. If you don't know small town ways and you're looking at all of these small towns near Asheville and Boone, and I'm just using that as an example because I'm in North Carolina. But if you can't look at those and see the little tiny towns, and you look at it as just a problem you want to solve so that you can gain the popular vote, that's not it, sir. That's not it. So, Mr. President and Madam Vice President, thank you for all you did to help my state and my family's state. And I saw the live FEMA meeting, and it just the director of, but I'm not going to go into all of the names because I just can't off the top of my head. Just trauma. It's all traumatizing. It's traumatizing that on October 7th there were things at memorials and then strikes, and it just traumatizing to see. Traumatizing how it's twisted. There's so many flip sides, but there is only one thing you can do. Like Tyreek said, control the controllables. Do what you can do. I hope I don't get in trouble for quoting you, Tyreek Hill. I love you, number 2. And side note, Tua, I'm praying for you, man. And that display of camaraderie between Mike McDaniels and Tua, when Tua had to walk off the field because of a certain quarterback, or not quarterback, but the Buffalo Bills. It's okay, because I remember praying for Devon Hamlin, so it's okay. It's okay. I got it. Because none of that is controllable. But I saw the love, the camaraderie in that team. That's why it's my team. However, go Heels, because they're my team too. And like I said, UNC, you need change. North Carolina, you need change. I hope that there was a little piece of that you can take away from and use. And if not, I'll gather my thoughts or just start taking them in between podcasts. Hopefully this one is only in one take, as, again, the glitches. But either way, thank you for watching, listening, everything. Take care, and I will be speaking again. over here.